Sorry, you're fired. Get out of here.
Much of BioWare's senior writing and editing team has been laid off after the failure of Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I wrote this up over at phantompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. We have this report here from Anne LeMay, who was a writer at BioWare between 2011 and 2016. LeMay worked on Mass Effect 3, Mass Effect Andromeda, and Dragon Age Inquisition. And LeMay wrote this over on Blue Sky. I was a writer at BioWare for 5 years, 2011 to 2016. I learned a lot during that. I think it learned a lot during that time from exceptional folks in many disciplines, but also specifically from my fellow writers and our amazing editors on both the Mass Effect and Dragon Age brands. Today, not a single one of those writers and editors remains employed there. So of the people that LeMay worked with from 2011 to 2016 in the writing and editing departments are no longer at BioWare, according to her. So her post comes in the wake of BioWare parent company Electronic Arts announcing that the entire Dragon Age franchise missed the company's expectations by around 50%. They wrote this in a press release. Dragon Age engaged approximately 1.5 million players during the quarter, down nearly 50% from the company's expectations. I think it's interesting that they don't write Dragon Age: The Veilguard. They just say Dragon Age, which I think is kind of weasel words to indicate that that includes the entire franchise. That includes Dragon Age Origins. That includes Dragon Age 2. That includes Dragon Age Inquisition. So my guess is that 1.5 million number doesn't just apply to the Veilguard, and sales for the Veilguard are likely less than that. I also think this 50% expectations thing is also, it's probably likely a lot higher, because we heard from Assassin's Creed executive producer Mark Alexis Cote. He says that these AAA games have to make between 8 to 12 million, or have to sell between 8 to 12 million units in order to break even. Even if we do assume that this 1.5 million was all Dragon Age: The Veilguard, that's nowhere near 8 million. And obviously, maybe you can say that, well, that's just what they were expecting in their first quarter, etc. They were expecting 3 million, and then obviously they would get more sales as the game progressed. But I'm not sure if I believe that. That would take a lot more convincing for me to kind of buy into that argument. So a week after that announcement, that press release, we got this from BioWare General Manager Gary McKay. He announced that BioWare was making cuts and that a number of staff had been moved to other studios within EA. He wrote this in a BioWare blog post. We have incredible talent here at BioWare, and so we have worked diligently over the past few months to match many of our colleagues with other teams at EA that had open roles that were a strong fit. Of note, he said many instead of all, with the implication that a number of employees had been cut, laid off, let go, fired, whatever you want to use. I think that is there. Definitely some weasel words coming from the folks over at EA and BioWare, which again kind of makes me think that this is weasel words right here in this press release, given the fact this is how they are announcing layoffs, totally beating around the bush there, trying to spin it as hard as they possibly can. So following that announcement, a number of individuals who worked on Dragon Age: The Veilguard's writing and editing team announced they were no longer with the company. Writing lead Patrick Weeks wrote this on Blue Sky. He says, "I'm now looking for a new writing narrative position. It's been a privilege to work with so many amazing devs over my 20 years at BioWare, and I will cherish the memories of the wonderful folks in the community I've met along the way. Thank you all." Karen Westweeks, who was the editing lead for the game, also wrote this: "I'm looking for work, ideally in an editor role. It's been an honor to work with so many talented professionals and a pleasure to meet so many amazing community members in my 19 years at BioWare. I'm so grateful to all of you." Ryan Cormier, who was an editor on the game, on Veilguard, says, "So my time at BioWare has ended. It was a wild ride with some fantastic people, but it's time to look for new challenges. I'm an editor-writer with 26 plus years of experience across video games, novels, short stories, newspapers, and marketing comms. If you know of a good fit, please let me know." Writer Brienne Bache announced she moved to Motive. She wrote, "On what's happening with me, I'm very lucky and grateful to have landed at Motive with a wonderful team and an exciting project, but I'm also heartbroken for those let go from BioWare today, many of whom I worked with closely for many years. If you're unfamiliar with Motive, it is another subsidiary of Electronic Arts." So Bache here was moved within the company within EA to another subsidiary. Editor Ben Galinas noted that he is no longer with the company, but he had left it a while ago. He wrote this, to be clear, I haven't been at BioWare for a while. My last work for them was jumping in for a little over a year to help with Veilguard's non-voiceover. Just as a reminder, we had Sylvia Fekete-Kuti. She announced back in December that she was leaving the company. She wrote this, sorry, I've been quiet on here, was busy with a big decision, namely deciding to leave BioWare. And then it's unclear if the entire writing and editing team have been let go or have been moved on or are no longer at BioWare. People that I could not determine whether or not they are still there include Courtney Woods, Joe Barry, John Dombrow, Lucas Chris Jansen, Mary Kirby, Cheryl Chi, and Cameron Harris. And you can see that they are listed here in the Veilguard credits. You can see Woods, Barry, Dombrow, Chris Jansen, Kirby, and Chi are all writers, while Harris was an editor. And that is your writing and editing team over there for Dragon Age: The Veilguard. We do know that it wasn't just the writing and editing team that got cut. Producer Jennifer Chevalier announced she was let go. She says, after almost 14 years at BioWare, I am devastated to learn today that myself and others must seek new opportunities. I am so grateful for all of the learning, challenges, and most importantly, the team. I will remember my time here with joy. We also had systems designer Michelle Flam saying, so yeah, if you need a systems designer with 10 plus years of experience, please let me know. I'm looking for remote or Seattle area full-time ideally, but can do contract. So we know it wasn't just the writing and editing teams, given the fact that we have a producer and systems designer here that were also laid off, were cut. And we know that game director Andrew Bush announced that he was leaving the company earlier this month. He wrote this over on Blue Sky saying, yes, I've made the decision to leave BioWare. One now, I think, can assume that Bush was told to leave before the layoffs were coming and gave him the opportunity to, I guess, exit with a modicum of grace. So that is the latest with BioWare, with Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Massive cuts clearly happening here. Unclear how many have been let go, but they've clearly let go of a ton of the writing and editing team if they hadn't already left themselves. So they are no longer at BioWare. And I'm not sure if this gives one hope for Mass Effect. I guess you can see it that way, that a lot of the people that worked on Dragon Age: The Veilguard are not there. But the company culture, has it really changed? I don't know. We'll obviously have to keep track of this one, but I am extraordinarily leery about anything coming out of BioWare anytime soon, or even within the next 5 years or however long it's supposed to take them to get that next Mass Effect game done, given what they put into Dragon Age: The Veilguard, even with a lot of these people gone. Because they approved all of this, right? All of the people at BioWare were working on this. This was approved from the top. EA approved of all of this stuff. No one there really shut it down, and we aren't seeing any heads roll at the top of EA for approving any of this stuff. So maybe if we see some more significant changes happening among the personnel, my mind might be changed. But at this point, I still think the next Mass Effect game is dead on arrival, just based on what we saw here from Dragon Age: The Veilguard. But let me know what you guys make of these layoffs here over at BioWare. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, to always speak the truth, and never forget that everything woke turns to crap.